Good afternoon. Welcome back to the B&H virtual event space. You are tuned into magazine-worthy wedding photography with Sigma ambassador Michelle Harris. So I'd like to thank Sigma for hosting and Michelle for joining us once again. Michelle, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you for having me again.
No, it's wonderful to have you on. Look, I don't know anything about either magazine-worthy photos or weddings. So it looks like you're going to have to cover both of those things for us. I'm going to kick it over to you and remind everybody that if you guys do have any questions at all, feel free to get them in. We're going to do a little Q&A at the end. So Michelle, the show is yours. I'll see you in a bit for some Q&A.
Awesome. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so we are going to talk all about magazine-worthy wedding photography. So we're not talking about how to get into publications, how to apply, those types of things. What we're going to talk about today is what you need to do in your weddings that you're already booking, your real life weddings, not style shoots, to just elevate your images so that they will be magazine-worthy. So let's go. Next one. So if you don't know who I am Michelle Harris. I am a DC and destination wedding and boudoir photographer. And I am also a Sigma ambassador. And here you can use the QR code if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, if you can see my work. But we're going to get into a little bit about me, and then we're going to go straight into the important stuff. So I am a lover of cheese and tequila. And when I say cheese, I mean just all cheese, and I can just eat cheese. Don't even need a vehicle for it. But, sometimes it's like not socially acceptable. So I have to use crackers and things, but like I literally am obsessed with cheese. I am the creator of Master City with M. Harris Workshops. And I have shot over 250 weddings since I started in 2015. And I'm also, in addition to M. Harris Studios, I'm the owner of Layla Chanel Studios, which is my associate team. So I have photographers who shoot weddings all over on my behalf. And Layla Chanel Studios is named after my oldest daughter. And that's her all the way on the left. So it's my Layla Chanel, then I have my Jordan Giselle, and then I have my Carter. So these are my three babies, and I do everything for them. And getting into magazines has helped me elevate my business so that I can continue to take care of them. All right, and so what we're going to do is talk about the 6 different things that you need to do to take your wedding photography up to the next level. By the way, these are the places that I have been featured. I think there's a couple that I left out, but these are the big ones. So the first thing that people think don't really matter is what you are wearing. And it does. So in order for you to have the authority when you walk into a room and when you're shooting a wedding, so that people will listen to you and do exactly what you need them to do and move quickly so that you can get all the things that you need done, you need to have a presence when you walk into the room. So I know there's a lot of people who shoot weddings and they will just have a polo shirt with their logo on it or something with their logo on the back. And I'm not saying all logo wearing is bad, but it's much better for you to be professionally dressed. So I recommend, like I always wear either like a dress or black pants and a blazer like I have on now, and just something that says like, hey, I'm here to work. And I wasn't just, contracted somewhere off of some website, because when you wear the logo, it's just like, oh, it's just, I just heard of this company and just brought this person in. But when you show up and you are dressed, ready to go, and you look like someone should listen to you, then you're more likely to get photos that you're needing in the time that you have. So on top of that, everybody knows that if you were to get into a car accident or something, and somebody walks up and starts telling you, hey, this is what you need to do, this is what you need, because you're hurt. And like, you'll probably listen out of like you being scared. But if another person walks up and they have on a doctor's lab coat, you're going to be more likely to listen to that person than the other person. They can be equal amount of doctors, but it's something about how you present yourself that makes people respond to you. Another thing that is important when it comes to the wedding day, like attire of sorts, things that like you need to wear, is your tone. How you're talking to your clients matters. So if and everyone involved in the wedding, if every time someone asks you a question, if you're like, oh, yeah, well, and maybe you're not going to sound like you know what you're doing. And so people are going to like quickly lose all focus. They're gonna be like, I don't even know if this person knows what they're talking about. They want me to listen to them. We'll see. So you can say the exact same thing in two different tones and people will respond very, very differently. So you have to make sure that you have a confident tone and that you look fantastic. So that's the first one. And then we're going to go over, I feel like I didn't go over these things. So we're going to go over the wedding day attire. We're going to go over everything that I have in my camera bag, which I feel like are essentials. There's a lot of options out there, but I'm going to go over my favorites. We're going to go over how to prepare your clients so that you can really get all the shots that you want to make them magazine worthy. All the necessary details that you have to shoot, how to get them done in the time that you have, and how to control your environment and the importance of it so that you can get these shots in the exact way that you're looking for them. And then we're going to talk about the power of cropping and eliminating, which is one of the most powerful things, but we'll talk about that at the end. So when it comes to my personal camera bag, I am all about mirrorless cameras. I do not care which ones you use. I just personally think that mirrorless cameras are absolutely incredible. The ones that I use are Canon R6s. I have two of them, both on me all the time, and I'm obsessed with them. I have the basic adapter. You don't need the one that, will, I think it like adjusts something. It will adjust different things, but it's just too much. All you need is the basic adapter, pretty much never leaves my camera, so that you can then use all of the Sigma art lenses if you're using Canon right now. So my absolute favorite lens, hands down, I never want to take it off of my camera, is the 40 millimeter 1.4. And there's a lot of people who are like, what is that? Because everyone knows about a 35 and they know about a 50. So why would they get a 40? It is the sharpest, fastest lens I've ever put on my camera. That's why I always regret when I take it off. So it's bigger than the 35 and the 50. It's bigger and longer. And it will change your life. So I recommend trying that out. And then I have my 85 as well, 85 1.4. And then now these two are for like portraits and just your average shots that you're taking. But when it comes to the detail shots, it's the 24-70 or the 14-24 that I recommend you always having, so that you can make sure that you can shoot these big dramatic details, because the publications are wanting those photos, and you're going to want to make sure you have something super wide so that you can capture them. We'll get into more details about that later. I personally use flashpoint flashes. I love them. I think for sure gone are the days where you should be going to buy batteries to put in your flashes. There's nothing more irritating than a couple of the batteries dying or on their way to dying, and then the flash starts going off every other one. I recommend having a flash where your battery, you just plug it in and charge it, no different than your camera. So we have the flashpoint flashes, and then I also use a pocket light. I always have this with me. It's really little, and I got it from B&H. It's a Pixel G2C, and this thing is incredible. It's so small, but it is extremely powerful, and you can make moments happen really quickly by pulling this out and shining it on whatever you might need. And the last thing that I always have in my camera bag, which is not typical, is a veil. I'll explain why. So this is a wedding that I was shooting. She has very, very short hair. She didn't have a veil, had no desire to have a veil on her wedding day. However, I always have a veil, and I mean the most basic of basic veils in my camera bag, because I want to be able to still create under the veil shots. or even like swooping veil shots or throwing veil shots, wherever you want to do it. Even if my brides don't feel like wearing a veil on it, like, oh, it's too long and it is, it's too hot, whatever the case may be, they still want this shot. So I always have the veil in my bag so that I can create these moments for them, even if they don't want to have this as a permanent part of their actual wedding day. So those are all the things that I have in my bag. And I absolutely recommend mirrorless cameras and the Sigma Art lenses together. All right, so we're going to talk about the preparation, because this is half the battle of making sure that your images can be magazine worthy, making sure that your clients know exactly what you need them to do, and you know exactly what they want you to do, and everything in between. So one of the best ways to make sure that you're going to get these magazine worthy images is to have a conversation about a first look. Now, if you go and you Google like, oh, first look points and, reasons that bride should have them, or that couple should have them, you'll find different reasons like, oh, you'll get more pictures. And, and that could be the case for some photographers, but I also tell my clients that, look, it doesn't matter which way you go. You're going to do your traditional timeline or first look, you're going to get the same amount of photos from me, because I am very, very quick, very, very quick. So I will get you these images regardless. It's just a matter of your stress level. Now, of course, we want them to do the first look because it will give us all of the time and focus so that we can really think and go to different locations and things like that when it comes to the couple portraits. But explaining it to them is important. It's like the way that you explain it to them is important. So if you go into the conversation as like, hey, are you more of a laid back person or are you more a stressed person? And if they're more on the stress side, I go into this deep conversation about how the importance of you having a first look is not about the photos. It is about your stress level. And if you go do your regular timeline, that means that you go get ready and then you have your ceremony, and then you look at me and you say, hey, I have an hour. In this hour, I need you to take pictures of me and my whole family, my partner and their whole family, and us in our bridal party, and the two of us. And it absolutely gets done, hands down. Every weekend, somebody wants to do the regular timeline, that's fine. But the entire time you're standing there, you are stressed. You're, okay, all right, who's next? Okay, oh, somebody go get Uncle Bobby, went to cocktail hour, tell him to come back, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just moving. And then you get to the end of that hour, and I got about 10 minutes to take your photos, and your mind is all about how hungry you are, how many people are waiting for you, all of these different things that should not be in your mind. Then you're like, okay, got to go to the reception. You're going to go, and you're going to walk in, you're going to be announced, and you're going to do your first dance, and you sit down and you say, oh, okay, now I can eat and just relax. Except you can't, because what happens is guests who have not seen you because you've been doing all these photos the entire time think this is the opportune moment to come over and say, oh, hey, I just wanted to say congratulations. So you stand up and you hug them, you sit down and try to eat again. Somebody else comes, you stand up, you hug them. And then we're like, okay, it's time for the dances, time for the cake, time for the, and your wedding flies by. Or if you did a first look, that means 2 hours before the wedding, then you just got in your gown, you just got your hair and makeup done, everything is super fresh. We're going to bring you out and you're going to, tap them on the shoulder, whatever you're going to do. And then in that moment, you have 30 whole minutes dedicated to photos of the two of you. These are the photos that are going to be on your walls, in your albums, ones you're going to pass down to your kids, and you are relaxed and only focused on this moment. You're not worried about anything else. Then the next 30 minutes, we will have you do all of your bridal party photos. And that means you have plenty of time to do all of the individual images of you and each bridesmaid, him and each groomsman, or however, mixtures of two, whatever it is, everyone together, but nobody is accidentally a cocktail hour. Hopefully they're not drunk. And you can knock this out. And then you can do your family photos, all the ones that you absolutely know that you want these people in your images. You'll tell them to come an hour before your wedding, which most people show up about 30 minutes early anyway. So you knock those out, and then you have 30 minutes where you can just rest. And then after the ceremony, you can go to the cocktail hour, which means you can eat the food that you're paying for regardless. You can drink the drinks that you're paying for regardless. And you get to walk around and hug all of your loved ones. Then when you get in your reception, then you can relax because everyone has seen you. So they're not going to interrupt you and you can eat. So it's just a matter of if you can explain that to them in that way, they're more likely to get it. So you just got to really hone in on the different elements because they don't know all these different pieces. So it's your job to educate them and prepare them and try to sway them over to the first look so that you're more likely to, you as a photographer will be more likely to be more relaxed and focused on getting these images. So in addition to the conversation with the couple, I also recommend sending them a bridal guide so that they know how to prepare for all the things, a detailed checklist so they know exactly what details to bring, because you would be surprised how many people have no idea what they need to bring. If they're not going to have their own written, printed out invitations, they could still just print out one just for the photos. But it's your job to let them know that they're not going to be thinking about it. They have a million other things to think about. So that detailed checklist, if you use the QR code there, that is one of my free Canva templates. So you can put your images in there and you can give this to your clients. And there's a checklist in there where they can mark off everything so that they are prepared, if that works for you. And then also making sure that they have a wedding questionnaire. Now, I have personally found that the sweet spot of sending the wedding questionnaire is right at 4 weeks. So 4 weeks before their wedding is when you're going to send it, because anytime before, they don't have all of the details nailed down. And then when it gets a little bit closer, they're super stressed out and everyone's asking them to do everything. So right about 4 weeks is good. Of course, there's going to be some changes between when they fill it out and the actual wedding, and you'll have to still get in touch with them beforehand and still keep having more conversations, but these are the basics that will definitely help you get there. All right, so there are very necessary details if you're wanting these images to be magazine worthy. Now, what's really important here is making sure that you have a whole bunch of different angles and different compositions of all the details. Because when it comes to them being like magazine worthy, you have to make sure that you have all of the details. I mean, shoot every single thing that the couple has paid for and shoot it in every different way that you possibly can, because all of these matter. One of the tips I want to give you, though, is I didn't realize until years in that when it comes to like wider shots where I'm trying to get a lot of the different elements in there, you have to increase your f-stop. Like I recommend, like typically I shoot like wide open. So my f-stop is normally around like 2.0, 2.2, something like that. And for some of these like smaller details, that works. But when you're doing wider ones, I would use one of the wider lenses, like a 14 to 24 Sigma 2.8. And I would have my f-stop up to about 6.3 at minimum, so that I can make sure that all of these details are in focus. This is important when thinking about making sure that they are magazine worthy. So you are responsible for controlling your environment. There are a lot of photographers who walk into bridal suites and they're like, well, all right, this is the bridal suite, so I guess this is where I have to shoot the bride and that's it. But that's not how it works. One, you do not have to get them ready in the spaces that are designated for them to get ready. Find somewhere else, because one, you're not taking pictures of the bride half naked anyway. So she's going to put a dress on, and then all you're going to do is a little zip part or the buttons or whatever. But you can do that anywhere. So you have to think out of the box. Like, okay, this space isn't going to work. Let's move them into the hallway. And we're going to do this over here. Wherever else you can take them, just remember that you control the environment. And people are going to listen to you to lead them through this process. So the reason I have this particular photo on here is because this was a suite in a hotel. There were couches and chairs all around this area. But she had a big bridal party and wanted to do a bridesmaid's reveal. So I made everybody pick something up and move it out of the room. I could have just left it there and be like, well, that's where, that's where they could fit. And oh, well, there's a couch or two in front of some of them. And, you just got to deal with this, that. But like, nope. It is our job to control the environment and try to create a clean space, as clean as you possibly can. So move everything or everyone. If people are in the way, you gotta, hey, I need you to come from this side. I need you to sit over here. Hey, can y'all come over here, pick up this stuff? We're gonna move this over here. You have to control the environment to get the clean spaces that you're looking for, because you don't see a whole bunch of cluttered images in magazines. There's not a whole bunch of different things all around on, tables and chairs and things like that. That's not going to make a magazine. You have to get clean, clear spaces, and you're in control of that. So the power of a crop is next level. Now, this is only one example, actually like a million of them, but there's a lot of different aspects that can be really, really distracting. But for magazine-worthy images, we want to make sure we get directly to the point. So instead of having this whole photo where there's all of this going on, which of course they got some other angles of the same type of thing anyway in their gallery. But if I was picking one for a magazine, I wouldn't send them the big one here because that lady stood up. The sun is blasting over there. And although I could edit it to make it even, it's not worth it because she's very distracting because she's standing up. Which I was very upset about because not tell her to stand up to throw the flowers. I instructed them exactly how to do this, but this lady decided to stand up. So we got like two people standing up over there. So it is better to crop it, but it's not just this situation. It can be as small as this. So up here on the top left is a vent in a hotel. It's not the biggest deal, but it does make a big difference when you do crop it down. Like the bride, if I had given her the photo with the vent, would not have been like, oh, I cannot believe I can see this vent. But when we're talking about making the magazine worthy, we've got to make sure that we are cropping and eliminating anything that is distracting. Like as simple as a light socket. It's so small. Like I said, the bride would not be, super upset if there was that light socket. She knows the light socket was there. It's fine. But if you're trying to make sure that all of your images are magazine worthy, you're going to take a second to remove little things like this, crop things in a little bit from the side. You're going to make sure that these little details are taken care of. So that is all of the things that to do in order to just elevate what you're already shooting to magazine worthy. And I have here, this is a QR code for my Facebook community. If you have any questions that, you can't think of during our Q&A that we're about to go into now, you can always join my Facebook group, ask there. Not only am I in there, I also have some other great educators that are in there that answer questions as well. And that's where you can find me, either in here or on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm going to get it started with the questions and invite everybody to get their questions in as well. What advice do you have when you have somebody who, look, I'm going to put myself on blast. I was one of them. I was one of the grooms that did not have style. And my wife still to this day talks about how I looked a hot mess at our wedding. So what advice do you have for dealing with, some of us just are like, oh, it's whatever. I don't care. As long as I'm there. How do you get professional results when you have somebody who's just like me, who's like I don't really care. Like, because it's always good when you have that photogenic couple that knows how to dress and they have like the whole matching outfits and everything's very well put together. What advice do you have for photographers who have to deal with somebody who's just like, okay, they kind of just look very blase blah, or have like a venue or something? Like, what do you do with that?
Okay, so the couple, you're saying that they look blase blah. Like what? Okay, explain to me how you didn't have style on your wedding day. What does that mean? Did you just get a too big suit from Men's Warehouse? Like, what are we talking about here?
Wow, you're good. You
Is that what you did?
I
No.
am there's no shame in my game. I will fully admit it. I went and it's like my wife is like, you need to get it tailored and this and that. I'm like, come on, if I get an athletic cut, I'm good. No, it looked horrible. And look, I'm not gonna mention anything on the photography end, but it's like, man, it was a tall order for any photographer to make me look
Okay,
magazine
so
worthy.
if that's the case, then that is a matter of actually posing, because I would make it so that you're not really the focus, which men are like most of the time not really the focus anyway. But like I definitely make sure that you are not the focus, and it's more on her and her gown and that type of thing. That's all we could do. There's nothing else you could do. But I shoot every groom the same. I don't care what you got on. Yeah, you're gonna get the same pictures, the same angles. I'm gonna look for the same things. It doesn't matter. Now, venues, now if you have a bad venue, all you can do is find little spaces that work. Cause like, or it doesn't even have to be like a bad venue, but like if it's not necessarily like your style, like say you're over red barns and things like that, like you don't take them outside and take the pictures in front of the red barn. Well, you should if they want them, but like then quickly get over to what you are wanting to actually show, because you don't post those, you post the ones that you want to be shown. And the veil is actually another like cheat code for that too, because I'm quick, like if I didn't really like the aesthetic of all the things and I just need to like post about the wedding, I will do a veil shot, like an under the veil shot, because nobody knows where you are, but they can see the couple and that they're in love and that type of thing. But that's what I recommend. Just bringing a veil and moving into spaces that you do like, that do work.
Get creative, give them options. Now, I'm guessing a lot of this comes down to the pre-planning. Like when you're meeting with the couples, a lot of this is discussed as far as they already know what they're getting when, by the time they get to you, they know your style, they know your work. Obviously, that's why they're bringing you on, right? Is that your vision is in line with what their vision is. So is this stuff that's all, I'm guessing, laid out in advance? You're going to have an idea of what you're working with. How often do you get surprised when, whether it's anything, whether it's venue or anything? How often, how many surprises do you get in the course of a normal wedding?
I mean, I think I get quite a bit actually, and that's because I'm not the average photographer. Like most people, like they want to like research the venue and they want to know every little like nook and cranny and this and that, and they even want to go to like the site visit before and all that. I prefer not to. I prefer to figure it out on the day of and see where the sun is and see, what's going on. And I'll be like, oh, actually, let's go over here. Like that's just how I like it. But I think, and that's why I love weddings the way that I do and know that they're not for everyone, because a lot of people can't handle that type of stress of not having everything super planned out. But like I'm the complete opposite of someone who is type A. So I'm just like, all right, well, let's go over here. Let's go over here. How much time we got? Okay, good. All right, well, I guess we'll go over here. That's just how I move through the day.
So you just run with it. Some people like to know every single detail and they get unhinged when something goes off plan, and you're just, no, give it to me. I'm gonna run with it and get great shots.
I'm also one of those people that like will literally add things into a wedding day timeline that wasn't there. So like we'll have talked about different things like, oh, did you want to do a dad's first look or a bridesmaid's reveal, that? And they might say, oh, I'll think about it or I'll get back to you, and they'll say nothing. Then the day of, I'm like, did you want to do bridesmaid's reveal? They're like, actually, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. So then you're gonna get ready over here, and then we're gonna put them here. But like, it wasn't planned before. I just make it happen.
So is there do you find that there's a lot of day of switching up or saying, hey, let's try this stuff out? Or do most people, are they entrusting it to you, or do you get a lot of suggestions from your couples?
No, they trust me. I don't get a lot of suggestions from them. I will ask them, like, especially if we're like on a time crunch. I'm like, okay, if we can only go 1 or 2 places on your venue, which are the 2 that you absolutely want to go to? Because, or 1, depending on how it's going. Like, if you can only get pictures in 1 place, which one is it? Outside of the place, they don't ask me no question, because I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this, and like I just go straight into all the things.
And if you had to boil all this down to kind of one thing, what do you think is the most important aspect of getting magazine quality out of the images? Is there one thing that you think, is it the lighting? Is it the posing? Is it the composition? What do you think is like the major thing?
I think it's more composition and just like super paying attention to the details, because there are little things that just really take things and will ruin it if you're not paying attention. Or it's just going to take hours of your life to get rid of things, trying to replace them with something else in your photos. But like, once you train your eye to see the little things that will be distracting, then you'll just stop doing it over time. I actually kind of had some issues trying to make this actual presentation so you could see it, because it's been so many years since I would even put somebody in a position to have to, move them somewhere or have to take things out, because I don't like to take time to do those things. I'm like, oh, I see the fire alarm over there. How about we just do this? But, years ago, that fire alarm would be there and I'd have to take it out. But I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go through all these hard drives to try to find old weddings, try to find raw images and then remember where there was a fire alarm on the thing. So I'm like, oof, that was a struggle. But once you learn, like once you teach yourself, you can't unsee those things. It's just a matter of knowing.
It's kind of just like you go into it and from the experience, like, okay, I've been here before. I know that this is not going to work. You kind of just shape it, so that you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to do the work later on. It's easier to see it in real time and just adjust on the fly.
No, I can't. Let's go over here.
Is it still a thing? Look, I'm so far out of the wedding spectrum. It's like, I talk to a lot of wedding photographers, and every time it's like, I'm like, all right, that's why I'm not the type of personality. I couldn't do it. But is it a big thing? I know it used to be like one of the dreadful things was, oh, I want to look like this and I want to look thinner and I want to look like this, or is there a lot of, I feel like we don't talk about that as much. And I don't know if it's because I'm just so disconnected, or is it not a thing anymore as far as the post-processing that goes in? I feel like it's more about the overall look, like the aesthetic, like the color grading or the presets. I feel like people aren't really as involved in like, what's the word I'm looking for? Pointed
like retouching, like literally
like retouching,
making people skinnier. And I mean, it all depends. There are people who that's why people go to them, because they know that they're going to have like almost no pores and going to be, shaped perfectly. And if that's what you want, then they'll go there. But my clients don't really ask me that type of stuff to be photoshopped really in any way. And then we don't have that conversation of, can you Photoshop this out, because I've already seen it, or I've already moved you. So like I said, once you train your eye to see the things, then you'll just start moving differently.
I guess that's the goal, to get yourself to a point where you don't have to, people already know what they're getting. You're attracting the kind of clients that you want to work with as much as they want to work with you. So you don't have to have those uncomfortable conversations or deal with the groomzillas, the bridezillas, whatever zillas are out there floating around.
Actually, now people are more concerned with getting the question of like, oh, can you just like do this in AI, as opposed to like, can you Photoshop it? That's a whole nother concern of wedding photographers. Like, please don't say that to me. Please don't be like, oh, well, you can just do this in AI. I'm like, no, we're not doing this. I'm going to take it as is. Like, I personally am not a person that even like Photoshop skies. If your sky didn't look like you wanted it, I'm sorry. This is the real sky that you had on your wedding day. This is what it's going to look like. So, but other people are willing to do it. So it just kind of depends. You never
I'm
know. Every
sorry.
client's different too, what they
Yeah,
want.
I'm with you on that approach. It's like let's keep it natural. I don't think I've ever looked at a sky. It's like in a wedding photo. It's like if the sky's blown out, I'm not looking at the sky. I don't care if there's clouds or if it's. I mean, I know sunset's a little different. We like to
Right.
have the colors in there, but it's like other than that,
Like pink
I don't know.
and orange
Yeah.
uh sunsets in ridiculous places. Like not that's just me. I know there's other people that will do it and make beautiful portraits, but I'm gonna take you as you are on your wedding day, period.
Well, look, the images are always beautiful. You always have beautiful work. So thank you for sharing your expertise. I know that look, it's a saturated market. There's a lot of options out there. And it's good that you can be at a point where, again, you don't have to deal with something you don't want to deal with. There's enough options out there. If somebody doesn't like your style or you guys aren't jiving or you're not on the same page, there's a
Mhm.
whole other list of
There's a million other people
yes.
that you do what you're achieve your goal of what you're looking for.
Mhm. Is that the main thing? Like, what is it for you? I guess I'll leave it here. For
Mhm.
you as a wedding photographer, what are you looking? Is it ultimately just you want to create the best images for your couple? Is there like a more detailed goal that you have in mind when you're
Mhm.
making your images?
Yeah, no, it's all about them because I'm going to shoot all the things that I know I would need if I wanted to like submit the things for publication. But like I'm not more concerned about that than I am about how my clients feel on their wedding day and getting things moved along. Like I'm not going to like, oh, well, I have this shot in my head, so I know that they're late to the ceremony because this and that. But oh well, because I really want the shot. Like I'll be like, ah, forget the shot. We're gonna go. Let's go. Because like whatever will make them more comfortable and them happier on their wedding day. I'm focused on that. But like when my clients ask me, or potential clients even ask me questions, are like, oh, are you like superposed or are you like laid back documentary type of deal? And I explained to them that, excuse me, I explained to them that I am a combination of all the things. It's just a matter of what time of day it is and what's going on. There are times in your wedding day where I will be, stay in the back and just kind of let things flow. And then there's other times where I'm not going to let you just decide to get dressed over here. I'm going to be like, okay, I understand you're ready to get dressed, but we're going to move it over here. So I do a little bit of both
Hmm.
for them.
I'm glad you went into that because I know I lied and said I was going to leave it there, but you said something and made me think of something else. And it's like you give me like a confident, assertive vibe. Like you're the professional, you know what you're doing. They're getting married most of the time for the first time, but they haven't been through this before. You've been through it a million times. So it's
Right.
like you are in that position to kind of guide them. It's like, okay, I'm going to help you get through and get the best experience. But there's those times where it's like I look at some of these wedding photos, and it's like, okay, we're gonna do a composite, and we're gonna do like what's the
Mhm.
thing everybody does, the Last Supper photo, where it's like, okay, we're gonna shoot all 37 members of the bridal party individually, and we're gonna clone out this and that. And it's like I'm thinking of it, and it's like I guess there's couples out there that okay if as long as the end product looks good, but is that something where it's like you're reading on the fly, or is this even a conversation where it's like, hey, if I, because you said, and I love because I see eye to eye with you on this. It's like, okay, you're gonna see shots all during the day, like, ooh, that would be a great shot, or I would love to add that to my. But if it doesn't fit the flow of the day, or if you have a couple that's just like someone like me who's just like, I don't care, you could shoot me with a Polaroid camera, like let's go over here, get it done. I want to get over and start drinking and eating and talking to people. Is that something that you're feeling out as far as what's the vibe of the couple?
Absolutely. Because I mean, you need to know like what is most important on their wedding day. Like there are couples where their most important part of their day to them is the reception. They're just trying to get to the reception. They just want to dance. That's it. If that's the case, then I make sure that in the little bit of time that I'm going to do portraits of them, because I'm not going to like push them and push them and push them because they're trying to hurry up and go where they want to go, that I get the kind of like more like epic shots, basically, is how I put it. Like instead of just doing like the standard, just look at me and smile and walk away things. Like I can do those real quick, but I'm gonna make sure I do something more dramatic, like a dip in front of their venue, or have her like twirl around, or him lift her up, depending on what she's wearing and what's going on. But like something a little bit more like, oh wow, look at that. Because they're not gonna give me a lot of time because their focus is getting to the reception. That doesn't mean that they don't value my photo, because they have to in order to pay me on the money they pay me. But I still am focused with them on what their end goal is. They want the pictures, but they want to hurry up and go there. And then there's other people who will plan out a whole hour of just portraits. So like you just I got to feel it out, because I do know that my clients think that, photography is important, but what else is more important to them is the question.
Interesting. I like that. Now, we did have a question come in while you're talking from Marion, basically asking, how do you deal with if you have difficult brides or grooms, or if they're not on the same page as far as wedding photos are concerned? If you have, one of them that is really big into the photos and the other one is just like, well, I don't care about the photos. Or if you have like disagreements over styles, is that something, how do you handle that?
Okay. So if one is more into it than the other, then the other one is going to have to suck it up, because it's not just about you. And if you're going to ask me whether or not I'm going to go with the person who wants to do more photos or not, I'm going to go with the one who wants it. And I'm not going to push them the whole extra 20 minutes out of the push of 10. But ultimately, like, I don't even know. This sounds like a bad start to a wedding here. A union. I'm like, I'm going to need y'all to compromise a little bit before y'all get married. But I'm going to go with that. And I'm just going to find somewhere in the middle, basically. Like, I'll do what I have to do. And I'm like, okay, all right, I know you're over it. All right, let's go. Let's go to the reception or wherever we're going. So somewhere in the middle.
And for those of you out there, we're specifically talking about grooms because we're always the pain in the butt. We're the ones that are like, we could have just done a barbecue in the backyard. Why do you have to go? My wife's looking at me right now. She showed up at the wrong time. I think it's time to cut it. Marion had a follow-up question on timelines for the photo albums. Is this something that you go over? Is there like an expected or a reasonable timeline that people should expect for their albums and their images?
So I do it a little differently. I send them their final gallery, and I have them go in their favorite 80 to 100 images. And then once they've done that, they will, send them to me. There's a little thing. I use CloudSpot, and there's a thing that just says alert your photographer. And so it just sends me an email. And then I send them a link so that they can schedule a Zoom meeting with me. And so when we get on here, I've already edited or pre-designed their album, and then I just go through it. I'm like, okay, do you want to move this here? You want to add this in, take this out, whatever it is. And then after like 10 minutes, we're done. And then I will send it to my professional printing lab, which I currently use Miller's. And then now it all depends on how long it takes them to pick out their favorites, because I am not selecting the images for an album. I'm just not. I deliver at least 800, and then the ones that are important to me, or like, beautiful to me, like what I would pick out on a blog post and that type of thing, not the same images that they pick for their album. And so I make them do that. I don't have like a time limit. I'm like, well, you only have 6 months, and then there's this. Like, I haven't gotten to that point. I'm just kind of like, whenever you're ready, I'll do it. I don't press them out. I'm like, oh, well, you have to hurry up. There's people from years ago that still haven't done it. And now when they come back, if it's been like 2-3 years, then I'm going to probably create a fee that I don't even have a standard one. It depends on how much I like them. And I'll be like, okay, well, it's this much for me to go ahead and do this. It's been a couple of years now, but that's just how I've been operating, whether that's the right thing to do or not.
It's your way. That's what matters, right? You develop your way, and it's your way or the highway. Now, if you have images that you really love and they don't choose them, is that something where you're just like, are you still going to use that for you, like for your portfolio, or is that something that do you, because I've had situations in the past where it's like, I really love this image and they're just dead set, like, nope, I don't like how I look here. And
not liking it at all. It's different than them not wanting it in the album. So okay. But yeah, I mean, if they don't like it, no, I'm not posting it. I'm not, because I personally would be mortified if I had pictures taken and I said, hey, I really don't like this. Please don't post this. And they did it anyway. Oh my gosh, I would be upset. So if that's the case, then no, that picture doesn't exist anymore. Or I can use it for, something like this, where only photographers would show up. But for most
Repurpose it.
photographers, that's not an option. So
See, I would make a horrible wedding photographer. I'd be in business about a week, and they'd be like, nah.
because you don't care. You like it's about me. What about me? I took it. That's not about you.
I think that's like the main thing is, yeah, you have to put, as your view as an artist aside, because it's like, look, even though no matter what concentration or genre you're shooting, you're still an artist. You're still a professional who is paid for a vision. That's really what people are paying for, right? They're paying for your vision, for your expertise. And it can be hard. That's why I ask these questions for people who are actually out there doing it in the industry, because it's so foreign for someone like me to be like, no, I have to concede all creative control. And I might have somebody where they don't care what I want, or they don't care about that. They hired me because I have a professional vision. They want what they want, and that's it. So I guess there's a whole lot of swallowing your ego in wedding photography.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's just a range of different wedding photographers that find different things important. So I'm not someone that needs a lot of time to think about all these different creative things I can shoot through and all that. Like, it's just not me. I'm going to make sure that you have these gorgeous images, and I may have, like some extra little elements into it, but there are some people who literally need like a dedicated 30 minutes to set up certain lights over here, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to put this here. That's just not me. I'm focused on getting exactly what they need. It's going to be beautiful, and I'm going to get it done quick, and I'm going to give it to them, and they're going to be excited. So it all just depends on what your overall like vibe is, and what's most important to you.
I love that. I love people who are so sure about what they want to deliver that they don't care what anybody else is doing. They don't get caught up in trends and waves and all of that. I think that's so refreshing, especially for, like we said, everybody's a wedding photographer now. There's so many. And I think there's so much of, okay, this person's doing this over here. This person's doing this over here. And you're just like, I just want to give you good pictures.
And people are worried about like, oh, I don't want to do the exact same thing at every wedding. Why not? They
If it
love
works.
like yeah, as long as if it
Yeah.
works, it's beautiful. Like people are like, I have my couples who I'll start to tell them what pose they're about to do. They're like, oh, I saw this one on your Instagram. They don't care that other people have done it, or you've done it with other people. You're in a different place with different people that were in different things at a different time of the day. They don't care. And ultimately, when they book a wedding photographer or photographer in general, they're like, they do that because they want to look like the people that they've seen. That's why, magazines and print and all that exist, because you want to look like the person. So you want to buy the clothes that the person has on. It's no different than the wedding photography. So I have some brides that would have been devastated had they not gotten a veil shot, because they've seen me do these things all the time. And so the photographer's like, what, you do that at every wedding? I'm like, yeah. And they love it. That's okay to have a thing and do it all the time, and keep delivering the same quality of your images to them.
That's the soundbite right there. I love that. I love that it's such a refreshing outlook and take on the whole thing of like, you don't have to constantly reinvent the wheel every single wedding you do. People are coming to you because, like you said, it doesn't matter if a million people have done the shot. You haven't done it. They don't have it. They don't care what anybody else is looking at. They just care about what they're looking at and people seeing on their images. So, Michelle, that's great. Beautiful work. Very, very, very wise outlook. I'd happen to agree with you wholeheartedly on your whole approach and just keeping it natural and give them something that they're going to want to remember and images that they're going to love to look at. So huge thank you to you, Michelle, there. I will remind everybody that this is archived, so you can go back and watch it as many times as you want. Or if you want to go back and scan those QR codes, keep up with Michelle online and check out her community online. Huge thank you to Michelle for all her expertise and the entire Sigma team for making this happen. Michelle, best of luck to you and everything you do. I know you're traveling right now, so enjoy that. And we'll look to see you back on here in the future. Michelle, thank you again to all of our viewers out there. Thank you guys for tuning in. We can't do it without you. We do it for you. But another rendition of the B Nature virtual event space is in the books. Catch you on next time.